A solo developer just shipped a Chromium fork that freezes the entire browser, JavaScript, rendering, everything, and waits for an AI agent to tell it what to do next. Each action takes about 100 milliseconds and returns a clean screenshot, a settled DOM, and a full event log. No WebSockets, no Chrome DevTools protocol sessions. One HTTP request, one completed step. It's called Agent Browser Protocol, and it might be the most important piece of AI infrastructure you haven't heard of. That's our first story today. Then we're going to talk about a $500 million bet that humanoid robots are the wrong answer for manufacturing, and the Rivian founder putting his reputation behind that claim. If you've tried to build an AI agent that browses the web, you've hit this problem. Browsers are asynchronous. Pages load progressively. JavaScript fires whenever it wants. Animations run on their own timers, and network requests complete at random intervals. But AI agents, large language models specifically, reason synchronously. They need to look at a stable state, decide what to do, execute one action, and then look at the new stable state. That mismatch creates a nightmare. Developers have been duct taping solutions together using Playwright, Puppeteer, the Chrome DevTools protocol, WebSocket connections, building elaborate state machines just to figure out when a page has actually finished loading after a click. Han Wang, a developer working under the handle Thread6, decided to solve this at the root. Instead of wrapping another automation layer around the browser, he forked Chromium itself. The result is Agent Browser Protocol, or ABP. It embeds an HTTP server directly inside the browser process. When an agent sends a request, say, click this coordinate or type this text, ABP injects real input through Chromium's native input system, then freezes JavaScript execution and rendering, waits for the engine to reach a settled boundary, captures a compositor-level screenshot including the cursor position, records every event that occurred during that step, and returns all of it in a single HTTP response. The agent never races against the browser. Between steps, the browser world is literally frozen. Virtual time stops. The agent observes, decides, acts, and repeats on a world that waits for it. ABP also ships as an MCP server, which means you can plug it directly into Claude Code, OpenAI Codex, or any MCP-compatible tool with a single command. The project went live on GitHub and immediately hit the front page of Hacker News. It's open source, BSD licensed, and designed to run locally on your machine, with the API served on localhost by default. Browser automation is the plumbing layer for AI agents that interact with the real web. Every agent that fills out a form, scrapes a dashboard, navigates a multi-step workflow, or tests a web application needs to solve this synchronization problem. Until now, every solution has been a wrapper, an external process trying to observe and control a browser that wasn't designed to be controlled this way. ABP inverts that relationship. The browser itself becomes the synchronization mechanism. That's a fundamentally different architecture, and it eliminates an entire category of flaky, timing-dependent bugs that have plagued browser automation for years. The overhead is roughly 100 milliseconds per action, including the screenshot capture. That means the bottleneck for any agent workflow is the LLM inference time, not the browser, which is exactly where you want the bottleneck to be. This also matters in the context of a rapidly evolving protocol landscape. Google is shipping WebMCP in Chrome 146, which lets websites expose structured tool calls to AI agents. Anthropic donated MCP to the Linux Foundation late last year, and the Python and TypeScript SDKs now exceed 97 million monthly downloads. ABP sits neatly in this ecosystem as the execution layer, the thing that actually drives the browser while those protocols handle discovery and communication. The immediate thing to watch is adoption among agent framework developers. If projects like LangChain, CrewAI, or AutoGen start integrating ABP as a default browser backend, that signals real traction. The bigger question is whether Chromium upstream, meaning Google, takes notice. Google's own WebMCP effort and ABP solve related but different problems. A merger or official endorsement would be significant. For now, ABP is a solo project, and its durability depends on community contributions and keeping pace with Chromium's rapid release cycle. ABP is a case of one developer solving a hard infrastructure problem by rethinking assumptions at the architectural level. That same pattern, rejecting the popular approach and building from a different set of first principles, is playing out at a much larger scale in robotics right now. And the person behind it just raised $500 million to prove the industry wrong. RJ Scaring is the founder and CEO of Rivian, the electric vehicle company that builds the R1T truck and R1S SUV and manufactures Amazon's electric delivery vans. In November 2025, Scaring spun out a new company called Mind Robotics based in Palo Alto. Yesterday, March 11th, Mind Robotics announced a $500 million Series A round at a $2 billion valuation, co-led by Excel and Andreessen Horowitz. Samir Gandhi from Excel will take a board seat. This follows $115 million in earlier financing from Eclipse Capital announced late last year. The thesis is specific. Rivian's EV factories generate enormous amounts of real-world production data, sensor readings, assembly sequences, quality control measurements, robotic arm trajectories. Mind Robotics is using that data to train AI foundation models for industrial robots. Not simulated data, not lab data, actual factory floor data from vehicles being built at scale. And the robots themselves are purpose-built for factory tasks, not humanoids. Scaring has been blunt about this. His quote, "Doing cartwheels does not create value in manufacturing." While companies like Tesla, Figure, and Appatronic pour billions into building human-shaped robots, Mind Robotics is designing form factors optimized for specific industrial tasks that require dexterity, adaptation, and physical reasoning that classical fixed-path robotics can't handle. The company's pitch is that a large share of factory work still requires human-like adaptability, adjusting grip pressure, handling parts that aren't perfectly positioned, reasoning about physical contact. But you don't need a human-shaped body to do that. You need the right manipulator, the right sensors, and a model trained on what actually happens on a production line. Scaring told the Wall Street Journal that Mind Robotics will have a large number of robots deployed by the end of 2026. Rivian remains a major shareholder and provides the manufacturing environment for training and testing. This is one of the largest Series A rounds any robotics company has ever raised, and it's a direct challenge to the dominant narrative in the space. Over the past 2 years, humanoid robotics companies have collectively raised billions on the promise that a general-purpose human-shaped robot is the ultimate form factor for physical AI. Mind Robotics is making the opposite bet, that specificity wins in manufacturing. The data advantage is real. Training robotic foundation models requires massive, high-quality datasets of physical interactions. Most robotic startups rely on simulation or carefully staged lab environments. Mind Robotics has access to continuous production data from Rivian's factories, which is the kind of data moat that's genuinely difficult to replicate. The investor backing reflects this. Sarah Wang at a 16Z noted that Scaring is one of the very few founders who has actually built and scaled a vertically integrated hardware company. That operational credibility matters when you're asking investors for $500 million to do something the market thinks is unfashionable. Mind Robotics is also the second Rivian spin-out in 2025. The first, called Also, builds modular e-bikes and small electric cargo vehicles and has already secured $200 million from Green Oaks Capital at roughly $1 billion valuation. Scaring is building a constellation of hardware companies, all feeding off shared engineering DNA. The deployment timeline is the key metric. Scaring committed to large-scale robot deployment by end of 2026. If Mind Robotics delivers working robots on Rivian's factory floor within 9 months, that's a powerful proof point and a direct challenge to humanoid companies still doing demos. Also worth watching, whether Rivian's custom silicon, announced in December for autonomous vehicle software, ends up powering Mind Robotics hardware. Scaring hinted it doesn't take much imagination to see that happening. The pattern worth paying attention to this week. The people making real progress are the ones who rejected the popular framing of the problem. A frozen browser instead of a faster wrapper. A purpose-built robot arm instead of a humanoid body. Sometimes the best move is to stop solving the problem everyone else is solving and solve the right one instead. If you want to keep up with AI and tech developments like these, subscribe. We cover this space every day. See you in the next